I'm saying? But good morning and welcome to Duality. I'm your host, Ash, and I'm here with Ayanna. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was just like so nice and organic the way it just kind of came to be. You know, we've been talking about doing a podcast for some time. And the other day, right, it's been a few years. And, I was just like, 2 days ago, on some like, what are you doing on Tuesday? And here we are. So, I know it's been a minute. The last podcast was in March. So lots has happened. And I feel like collectively, not only with myself in my own life, but I know that from everybody that I've been speaking to, there's just been a lot happening, a lot of moving parts, whether you want to equate it to the warmer season or retrograde or whatever, just lifing in any capacity. Everybody that I've been speaking to seems to have been coming to a lot of like really profound and pivotal moments. And I suppose being asked, what is life teaching us? I seen that someone said that somewhere and it like really rung true to me. And then I was speaking with Ayanna the other day and I was like, what do you feel like life is teaching you? And then we kind of went from there.
Yeah.
And, so in that same vein, in that same thread, what has life been teaching you?
I mean, kind of like you said, like, I feel like life has been life for everybody. I don't know if it's maybe a age thing because we're all kind of growing together. So we're all reaching these like pivotal places together. Like for me, it's 25. For you, it's probably 30.
31.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the 30s,
those just monumental places probably. So that's such a, it's like, how do you fit 30 topics into one sentence? What has life been teaching you? I said from when we were talking, I said life is teaching me patience for sure and how to actually sit because I'm a Sag. So I be going. And sometimes you just have to actually sit still to make clear decisions, non-emotional decisions, just all that type of stuff. Controlling my emotions, gaining emotional intelligence. I learned that from a Cancer.
as we do that, yeah.
But what has life been teaching you, Ash?
Right.
We're acting a little shy right now.
There's been a lot. Yeah, we're warming up. Warming up. But it's also just like, what hasn't life been teaching me? Nah, but for real though, it's like I can really agree with you on the patience tip and on like the actually sitting with it, on that note of things, also like perfectionism.
Yeah.
I feel like has been coming up a lot for me, like trying to do things in a particular way and then feeling like, it like I struggle sometimes, which is like, okay, I need to get this done, or like I want to get it done in this particular way, and I'm not going to get it done until I feel like I can achieve getting it done in this particular way. And I feel like I've been faced with a lot of that in a lot of different areas of my life recently. And also just like where my morals can stop me in like almost my perfectionism. Like it becomes like almost like an OCD tendency, if not an OCD tendency of like, it needs to be done, needs to feel this way, and needs to be moved this way in order for me to progress forward. But simultaneously, like that's just not reasonable for everything. And right. You need to do things wrong in order to figure out, how to do things better, how to do things that feel like, I'm not going to say do things right, but also just like how to do things that best align with you. We can't be afraid to make these mistakes, or we can be afraid but still do it, because in order for us to achieve success, like we need to fail. We need to like, mess things up and learn along the way, or else you don't learn. And then you just ponder, what if I would have said that? What if I would have did that? I could have done this better. And I think that also another lesson that life's been teaching me, which I feel like is a continuation of just in general life, how to not let other people affect me, how I move, you know, like no matter who it is, no matter what it is. You know, it's one thing if you have somebody who's being angry and like they're being angry and they're projecting that anger onto you or the space or the situation, whatever the case is, and not allowing yourself to modify who you are fundamentally, because we're human beings. Like there's only so much a person's going to take. Like, you know, we're bound to have a reaction, but I really strive to have responses. And like I have noticed not only in those kinds of arenas or whatever you want to call them, but also in like the more passive ones where it's like where I've allowed people that I love and I value and I trust to take the lead when they weren't capable of it, you know, and then being upset with myself for not allowing myself to take the lead when I was capable of it, and then compromising what I wanted to do in order to appease the situation, thinking that that person might have it under control. And like when you know, maybe it's a moment, doesn't mean that the person's like this all the time, but like maybe in the moment they just don't. And maybe that was your step to lead. And like also going to the notion of the topic of, you know, the podcast is like how to lead and not force. Yeah. You know, so I want to ask you, what is your interpretation of that when you had said that?
So you said a few things that kind of stood out to me. I'm getting better at this too, of like just listening and not needing to respond to everything and just taking things in. I think it comes with being emotionally grounded. Right. And that emotional grounding really disperses into every area of your life once you internally get that or start to get that under control. And like you started off by saying the whole like perfection thing. For me, I think that's the difference between us. You're water, I'm fire. So like I naturally kind of process the world in a more like black and white sense. So like for me, when I talk about these things, I can refer back to like business or whatever, right? And it's like, I know even for me, when it comes to editing and it comes to posting and stuff, again, going back to the OCD thing, I don't know if it's a literal problem in my brain, but seriously, I understand what you're saying, where it's like, I need things to be perfect and look a certain type of way before I feel like I can move on from it. And through me doing social media managing and being forced to just be consistent, it's actually helped with that, to where now I'm striving to get something done and not for it to be perfect. And within that, it's all of the mistakes, quote unquote, or all the ugly, non-perfect parts that actually make it perfect, right? If that makes sense. So like that stood out to me. I feel like sometimes our areas of work or whatever we're forced to, like life is forcing us into doing, helps with that, like forcing us to have that structure. And then when it comes to the whole, just like what you're saying, I think that's so important, because I feel like it plays a part into just us as human beings. You can be as intuitive as you want, right? Or like even someone like you is a perfect example. You spend a lot of time on your spirituality, on your self-growth, on all these things, but you're still human. And you're right. And us as human beings, our brains are designed and wired to literally protect ourselves from the things that we deem to be danger or that we don't want to face. Right. So in moments like that, you'll have an intuitive feeling, or you'll start to piece pieces together, but there's no physical evidence in front of you. So we as human beings start to be like, you know, maybe that's not there. Or like we have that little bit of hope, like, let me try to give that person a chance. Or, you know, we find ourselves being empathetic towards people's situations. I'm big on this. I think, again, leading back into how I got good at this or getting better at this, is that I used to give people so much of the benefit of the doubt and so much empathy and so much of that human consideration that I wanted to see in the world and that I wanted for myself. But in turns, when we understand people's situations, it's like I had to run a strict program with myself. Right. And it's like when we understand people's situations, in turn, like how do I put this in just a specific example? I have such a pet peeve when people are like, but you have to understand this, or you have to understand I was late today because of this, or you have to understand. When people start to say you have to understand, that's my first red flag of like, I already understand. You don't have to tell me how to be empathetic towards you because I'm secure within myself. I don't have to understand shit.
And it's also a forcing. You know what I mean? It's literally
because
forcing.
Just because I understand something doesn't mean I have to be okay with it.
Right.
And once you accept something or once you're okay with something, in turns, you're literally putting yourself and setting yourself up for whatever that situation is. Kind of to what you said, it just is.
Right.
So I feel like that was great that you said that, because that was my starting point as well for me to just be like, you know what? Everybody's so different and everybody's living such different realities every day that it's literally impossible for me to sit there and understand people's situations to where I'm now a part of it.
Right.
Because, so I guess as adults, or I guess that's what we start to learn in adulthood, is that you're literally only responsible for yourself and your own well-being and like where certain things are going to end up. So I'm very big on, no matter how much I love you, and I'm in a relationship right now, right? I tell her this all the time. I'm like, no matter how much I love you, no matter how much I want to be with you, I literally would not be myself and can't keep moving as the train that I am if, I understood certain things that in real life I don't want to accept or I'm not okay with. And that's just going to be bad for both of us. So.
Well, I think when it comes to, speaking to what you were saying before, when someone's like, I need you to understand, like, and it's like that force that happens, like, what is force? Like, it's literally like in science, it's something pushing against something else, right? And then I feel like when we kind of extract that into more of thought, it's like fear of something not happening.
Right.
So you try to make it happen. You try to make it happen regardless of anyone or anything. You try to make it happen. You force it to happen because you don't trust it to happen naturally. So you push up against it. But when you're pushing up against something, you're pushing something away.
Right.
It's not in its natural form. It's on its natural flow. It's here, and now you're like, and it's like,
But I do feel like there's a fine line. And I think that's why, as human beings, that's our job of like discovering for ourselves and going with the push and pull, because on the same token that you can't force things in life, it becomes so hard because as humans, we do have to also be the things that
we have to force for ourselves.
Right.
We need to create momentum. Right. I think when it becomes tricky is when we're trying to force outcomes through other people.
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
It's like in that aspect where it's like literally we won't move if we don't use the force of ourself and our energy to physically move, or to get something done. But when we're afraid that something's not going to happen and we're like, no, I'm going to make it happen regardless of anyone's feelings about it, it becomes it's fear manifested as a forceful movement. And a lot of times it comes in like an aggression type space, or like anxiety, whatever energy is needed in order to move something. Right. But a lot of times it's just misused energy. Right. That same energy can be allocated to ourselves to use that momentum and that force to make things happen for ourselves. And then that's how we change force into leading. Right. By leading by example. Okay, I want, I want a friend of mine to start meditating more. Right. I'm going to call her and be like, did you meditate today? Did you meditate today? Did you meditate? That's like forcing my will on this person rather than being like, hey, I'm going to go meditate by this tree. You want to come? Right. Okay, I'm going to go do that. Oh, what did you do today? Oh, like I went and I meditated. Not with the intention and not with the forcefulness of like, I'm going to manipulate my way to get this person to think. But like when it's organic, someone asks you what you're doing, that's what you're actually doing. Right. Stating that and just leading by example, or letting that person kind of come to it, because like you learn that like a lot of people, we all struggle with different addictions. We all struggle with different, whether it's societally acceptable or not, it could be anything from drugs to phone consumption, to people, relationships. It could be anything that we're addicted to. Yeah. People have to come to recovery on their own. People have to accept that they have a problem or something that's being overconsumed on their own and want to make a change. Yeah. We can't force that, no matter how we tried, how much we try. Right. We cannot force that.
I think it comes with detaching. Like that art of detachment has helped me so much, because yeah, us as humans, naturally, when we're around things or you see certain people every day, or we naturally just get attached in ways. And when we understand that as individuals, we're all on our own separate missions, and that plan is completely out of your control. And kind of like you said, it's being self-aware and knowing when you're operating out of fear. And that fear looks so different for everybody. And I was literally just talking about this last night. And for me, fear, I start to get avoidant. That's like and again, that goes into your attachment styles.
Right.
How you grew up, how your parents raised you, the things that formed your brain when your brain was still forming. And it just becomes science at a certain point to the human body and separating the human body from the spirit.
Patterns.
Right. But again, it's detaching from outcomes. It's detaching from just anything that you think is yours, and really humbling yourself and understanding we're all products of the universe, and we're all here for our own separate missions. And sometimes, like even me and you, we crossed. And sometimes you stay with people along the line. Sometimes their journey goes somewhere else. And it's really just detaching from those outcomes and operating in light. Kind of what we were talking about is like light and dark. When we're operating in fear, we're feeding our shadow selves subconsciously. You know, we start manipulating, we start lying, we start hiding, we start tucking our tails, we start, again, feeding more into the human flesh, rather than operating in our light, going with God or whoever is that light power for whoever. And yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I
feel like
100% get what you're saying.
Me and her be talking in codes. I feel like sometimes it sounds like confusing if you're just listening to our
like
words.
Metaphorical, you know. Like, yeah,
but
I feel like if you get it, you get it. If you don't, like, we can help you understand along the way of this podcast. Right. And like, I just need to speak to, like, if I were to consolidate what life is teaching me right now, it is detachment. It is detachment. And
healthily detaching.
Not avoiding, detach, like detach.
Right.
Loving detachment, loving speech, loving, like.
And I was telling you, again, for me, my current relationship is a prime example of that for me, because I'm with the person that I'm with. I love the person that I'm with. Of course, I hope things go great. And this is conversations I have with her, so I'm not scared to speak about it, right? Everything is there, you know. Of course, I want that. I value it, all that good stuff. But it only keeps working. And going back to the leading thing, I do feel like in relationships, maybe this is my personal opinion, I do feel like maybe there has to be, maybe not one person all the time, but it has to be a switching of leading and following, if that makes sense. And really trusting your partner's judgment and trusting, you know, who you feel like your person is. Going back to what you said, really looking at a person for who they are and being like, do you even have X, Y, and Z capacity?
I think that it's also understanding your roles. It's like understanding your roles and understanding your capacity. It's like that person might be able to lead when they have more capacity in this particular topic. Right. But right now, you know, you got to use your better judgment when you're looking at them and they're like, you know, struggling in whatever ways. And you're like, okay, well, how can I be of service? How can I be of support? And most of those times when people are struggling, like, you can't ask them, you can ask them what they need. And everyone's different, but some people aren't responsive to that because they don't know what they need if they're really struggling. Right.
And then that's when you have to use your discernment as a human being, or that is a spiritual person, and you have to really be like, is this going to serve me or is this not? No, and going back to my point is, no matter how much I love the person I'm with, no matter how much I hope that things go well, I'm in a super healthily detached state where I very much understand that the plan is still above me, and it's still going to go however it's meant to go. And it's like, it's not up to me to have those things figured out. It's really just being present in the moment, being grateful for what's in front of you, and understanding that it can be taken away from you at any point, whether it's death, God forbid, whether it's just things not naturally working out, whether it's whatever it is. And you have to, I feel like as an adult, we have to, in order to keep going ourselves and not let other people constantly throw us off and take us off track, it's like there always is going to have to be that part where you're content and like, I love you, hope this works, but at the same time, I'm going to keep living in my truth, and if that truth continues to align with your truth, then great. That's the best case scenario. But I'm not ignorant to the fact of that life is so broad. Mm-hmm. You don't know what somebody else's life plan is supposed to go. Mm-hmm. You only know what's in your gut and the program that has been internally programmed into you.
And it's so important to really listen to that when you understand that, because once you don't accept that and you don't detach healthily from whatever it is that's coming up,
you become a victim.
You become a victim, and you also take on other people's karma.
Yep.
You start, now it's like you're meddling in a situation, and it's like you can be doing that out of the best intentions or the kindness of your heart, or you're seeing what's going on, you're trying to help. But like the best thing that you can do after a certain point, when you've done all you can do, is really just detach and like allow the outcome, because it's like holding ourselves accountable. Like, are what fear is moving you, and it doesn't even have to be fear of like outcome with like you and that person. It could be fear of like outcome of just that person's well-being. It doesn't, it doesn't even it could be selfless. It's seeming, right, but still it's coming from some type of fear you're having within yourself, probably because of past experiences or whatever the case may be.
Right. I think submission is such a big topic that a lot of people don't, or that society doesn't widely praise, mm-hmm, or like really show the value of. And I feel like that submission, or the idea of submitting, it's like, I think once I started, because I used to be one of those people as well, right? I come from a Puerto Rican single mother household, independent woman, all that type of stuff, right? If you cry, you're weak, and all that type of stuff, right? I'm learning right now in life that there's such a beauty to submission, and that life forces us to submit to it. Mm-hmm. And we can try to have the control. It's like, kind of like you said, the more that we try to push, the more we try to force. Life has a funny way of making sure that we submit to mm-hmm, the bigger plan regardless.
Let go, surrender, or be dragged.
Right. Right. And there's such an art to letting go, submitting, and there's so much power in submission that for me, I don't think naturally it comes to me because of where I come from and how I was raised. Right. But it's something that now I can value to where I want it in my life and another partner, and I had to face, the realities of what does that, what do these things require, basically? What does this require from me?
Well, I think that there's a difference between surrender, submission, and just like giving up. And I think that that's what has gotten confused in society. Right. We're told never surrender, never give up. And it's like word valid when it comes to like fighting for yourself, fighting for your life and things of that sort. Simultaneously, like surrendering is that place of healthy detachment, from my interpretation of when you come to that place that you can no longer expend energy, and you have to let it play out. And there's a difference between doing that or like not, or like giving up. There's a difference. Like giving up is like, there is more you could do, mm-hmm, and probably should, there's like that space. You could feel the difference. Like if you have anxiety of like how you're going to be perceived and you give up, or if you surrender.
Well, that's not submit.
Right. It's not submitting. It's not surrendering. Right. That's a difference. That's in my eyes, in my interpretation, like that's the difference between the two, where it's like one is for the greater good of you and all parties involved, and the other one is for the greater good of your ego. You know what I mean? To not get hurt. Mm-hmm. And those are the differences that I interpret when speaking to that, because this is something that I've spoke to many times with many different people, where it's like in society, like majority of us and in our upbringing have been told to not submit, not surrender. And like that can be confusing when you come to this more, I suppose, like spiritual or like philosophical, psychological aspect of what it is to surrender. Right. You have to kind of grapple with what is a new definition, you know, what that means to you now.
I look at it like the animal kingdom, or like how if you look at animals and the way that they just naturally function, it's like you can think, us as people, you're going to say, okay, what's stronger, the mosquito or the lion? Mm-hmm. And most people are going to be like, I'm choosing the lion. Da-da-da. But the mosquito could take out all the lions with disease. Right. So I think due to film, society, naturally people, and us surviving, we like to think stronger, bigger is the bigger force, the more, you know, scary thing. Mm-hmm. But I've learned in life that the most scary people and the most scary things in life are things that don't have to say anything, that they can just sit still and not be shook, not bend, break. They're just still. And that is a different type of scary in a good way.
Well, powerful.
Right.
Powerful.
Like, and I say scary because...
Well, because it's intimidating. Right. Because they're unaffected. They're unbothered by what you're trying to bother them with, you know? So then if you're the person who's attacking, right? And you're like trying to throw stones at this person and they're just like dodging them, whatever the case is, it's like, oh shit, like what I'm doing
no matter what I force, no matter what I try to do, it's not working. And that really riles people up, and it shows their true colors. It shows where they're coming from. It shows everything. The cloak is taken off. And so once I think I got to this point because, again, I went through an experience with a cancer where I'm a very self-reflective person. So I get so interested on the things that are able to hurt me or affect me or throw me off. I got a Scorpio rising, so I'm like, I get obsessed with those kinds of things. And once I realized that the people that had the most power over me were people that were doing absolutely nothing and just focusing on themselves, and just, they didn't have to scream, they didn't have to fight, they didn't have to do nothing. It's like I was left to come to certain conclusions on my own.
You're left to sit with yourself.
I was left to sit with myself. Right. And that's when I realized most people, that's what we're all scared of. Mm-hmm. That's what we're all running from, is sitting with ourselves and the true who we are, ugly, raw and uncut, maybe not desirable, maybe not this, maybe not that. We're not special as much as we want to feel special. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I became so interested by it. And now my whole thing is like, ooh, don't sleep on the nice ones or the calm ones or the people that seem like they're not a threat or whatever, because those are the people that's going to last. When we're over here, you know, I'm right, scuffling, you're wrong, and everybody's fighting, everybody's trying to be right, everybody's trying to be special, everybody's trying to be seen. And we're all going to, you know, it's all in the same category, I realized.
I agree. I mean, I remember growing up, like, one of my good friends that has, and now on the spirit side, like, when we were in school, he used to like be, majority of the time, you know, he's human, but majority of the time he would just be so calm, like, and like our teacher would be kind of like bugging out on us or whatever, and everyone would be kind of bugging out because they're in high school or whatever, and he would be sitting there and he would be like, all right, miss, like, okay, like, and I used to think, I remember saying to him, I was like, how do you stay so calm? And he's like, you know, it's just, you got to let that stuff roll off
and
you.
People
like,
think it's easy.
And it's not.
Right.
And it's so not. And also, even if you're able to get there, you know, I've been going back into, my sister had gifted me a book called No Mud, No Lotus. Right after my father had died. Mm-hmm. It was like a significant book, and like it's by Thich Nhat Hanh, and his work is absolutely incredible. Then a really good friend of mine had put me on to The Art of Communication, and that's the book that I had sent to you. And like that, and on my way here, this morning I was listening to, because he has a bunch of like how to walk, how to eat, how to this. And there's one that said how to fight. And I'm like, what is this, like, Buddhist monk going to talk about how to fight? Like, I'm curious to this, But like, we're humans, right? So we have this like ego, or like, I'm gonna read a book on how to fight. Like, if anything, I think
my mama told me how to fight.
I think I'm pretty versed on how to fight. You know what I mean? And not even just physically. I mean, like verbally. Mentally. In fact, like, I grew up in a household that, although very loving, all very fighting, a lot of fighting, always. Like, yeah, very much so. Maybe struggling on not lacking tools to communicate properly. So everyone was like yelling and arguing. So like for me, when I had seen my friend being able to do that, like took note, I was like, oh my God, that's profound, And then like what Thich Nhat Hanh constantly talks about is like, this compassionate listening, like really giving the space to compassionately listen. Like if you have like in the book that I'm listening to right now, talking about like the fighting, it's like how to fight is to essentially not,
it's crazy, because I'm telling you, once I started practicing it a little bit, I started seeing it, and then I became addicted to it. And now I'm like super, like, you even know this. Me last year, I was so much more like, felt like I had to get out what I have to say and have to prove my point. And I'm like, I have all this energy, and me now in such a short time, I'm so big on giving people a safe space and letting them feel safe to, like, in turn, right? I guess embracing my feminine energy, or embracing that submission, right? To where I'm now, how do I put this? When you let people speak and you let people be themselves, and you let yourself come across as like the non-intimidating one, or like, you're just there. People reveal themselves. It's so crazy. 100%. When you let people just talk and just, no, I'm not, whatever, they will tell you all their secrets. They will tell you everything without saying it most of the times. Like they will literally just reveal who they are willingly if you just sit still. And just, because people are forced to face themselves at that point.
Right. They have the safe space that, especially when you're not rebuttaling, now they can just, you're actively listening.
And hearing yourself speak to someone else makes things click in your brain more than if you were by yourself in your room. So for example, when I make a song or I'm doing music, me writing to myself, there's been so many times where I write a song to myself, I replay it, I'm singing, I'm like, yo, this sounds mad good. Like, I really like this. I really like this. And as soon as I get in the room with other people, or even my engineer, and now I'm in the microphone, and now I'm forced to hear back what I'm actually saying, there's so many times where I'm like, I said that, this don't really sound right. This don't sound like me.
Right. You're forced to face feedback. Like, even if it's just a back way, it's like, even if you think about like
you won't even say
music, acoustics, right? Something's hitting off of something. You need some kind of, to assess the way something's going to sound in a location.
How do I put this? It's not even that, right? Because he won't even give me feedback. It's even going back to like when I was first coming out as gay. It was so hard for me to say I'm gay. I was, especially to my parents, they would be like, so what's going on? I'm like, yeah, so I was with someone, and I was with a girl, and I guess, I don't know if you kind of get what I'm saying, but saying things out loud to someone else forces us.
Well, you hear yourself. It's like putting it in, it's almost like how people are with like writing it down. It's like putting it in stone. It's like you get to hear yourself rather than think. Like when it's in your head, you're hearing yourself, but it's not out loud. There's power to hearing your own voice say something.
It's more like facing yourself. That's why I'm saying I don't really know how to put it. It's more of like, right, because if I was with my friends, I'm gay, yeah, whatever, I like girls, blah, blah, blah. But it's something about talking to my parent, and my dad specifically was like, so what are you? And I'm like, yeah, I like girls. I told you, I did stuff with girls. What are you? Say it out loud.
Right.
Because I couldn't, for some reason, I kept going around saying that one specific thing, because my human brain knew that automatically when I say it out loud to someone else to receive, now I'm basically forced in a way. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's like a psychology thing. It's like you're forced to now accept that truth.
Processing. Well, some people have audio processing. So even saying it out loud, you're processing it. That might just be your form of processing. So like, yeah, you might be able to write it or say it in, but also, especially what you're talking about with the significance of who you're saying it to, it's like you are, like you were saying, you're accepting it on a level. It's like now you are owning it, you're embodying it, and there's almost like, I don't know, I feel like in certain aspects, like I understand what you're saying, because it's like, it almost feels like, okay, there's no coming back now once I say it. Like once it's out there,
right? Like our human brains try to protect ourselves from the truth, and it's one thing to like tell yourself whatever you want to believe, or have your own delusions in your room, or whatever the case is. But once we actually sit and we say, you know, what we're trying to say to someone else, and we're forced to face ourselves in that sense, it becomes a whole other thing. So I guess the point of me saying that is like, us as people, there's so many times where we're operating in fear and we don't even realize it until it comes to a point where we have to speak it out loud and have to like say it to someone else.
Well, it's like doing it afraid. Like like what you, from even what you were saying, like that my interpretation is like, you know, when you're saying with your friends, when you're saying with yourself, you're not in a space that there's like fear or danger.
Right.
Like there is acceptance there. So like when you're saying it to somebody that you may, even if they will accept you and even if they're okay with it, if you have a predetermined judgment that they may not, and they hold a certain significance, like a parent, you know, or a loved one, whatever the case is, that puts a whole other amount of pressure on like actually standing on who you are and accepting who you are and being okay with sharing that regardless of who or what is going to accept that. So now you're putting yourself in a vulnerable space. It's extremely vulnerable to say these truths out loud.
Right. And honestly speaking, I feel like that's what this, remember we were talking about society and how I feel like we're all like kind of going through things simultaneously. I don't know if you are like noticing, I guess, the timeline of which life has been happening recently in general, but I feel like that comes from the whole COVID thing that we all are still recovering from. And it's like everybody for a year, 2 years was in their house and didn't have to face other people.
Well, not everybody.
Well, you know what I'm trying to say. For the most part, we became comfortable being secluded in our own spaces and, you know, getting comfortable with, okay, yeah, like, you know, I can stay here and think whatever I want to think and whatever, like, I'm not going to be held accountable, really, if that makes sense.
I think everyone had a different experience, but I can understand that's a lot of people's
I guess what
experience.
I'm thinking of is that I'm noticing that a lot of people are having a hard time getting out and connecting again. I don't know if it's a youth thing.
I think that's definitely a factor for sure.
The youth thing?
100%, because think about how old were you when COVID happened?
How old was I?
You were like 19, right? 18?
I think I was 18 turning 19 or 19 or whatever.
Right. I was your age now. So like for me, it was like a different experience, but like I can understand, like, especially when you're 18, 19, like, first of all, like that's just a rough time in general.
I'm just saying, I feel like during COVID, right? I think, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of people got more comfortable on their phones, right? A lot of more people got more comfortable building platforms online, having a side business, having a side hustle, something that's operating on TikTok, Instagram, right? And I'm only saying this because I guess I do this as a job. So this is like the common denominator that I've been experiencing through working with people. And I'm just finding that it's now that everything is back open and now that everything is back in real life, people are having a hard time transitioning from their online personality to real life interactions. And I guess I'm saying what I was saying about the gay thing because I feel like that's the same concept. Like a lot of people became comfortable with who their social,
like a persona,
rather than their persona rather than who they are in real life. And that's why I think it's very hard for a lot of people to, because that's all I'm hearing is like, I'm not making money, you know, doing what I'm doing, or I'm, you know, I have to network, but I don't know where to start it. Like everybody kind of is having a hard time just getting back in person again and just putting in the actual work in terms of like just meeting people on the street,
Right.
having conversations with people, you know, because it forces them to face who they really are.
Right.
And in
not
their
just
mind,
the mask that they can
right,
control behind the buttons on
and
the
there's a
internet.
subconscious
Right.
fear that, oh my God, if these people see that I'm not really who I,
They won't like me.
right,
They won't accept me. They won't choose me.
right. So
Which
it
brings
becomes a
up all the other
manipulative type of situation in terms of, you know, now people are making more money online doing other things that they don't have to, you know, it's like everybody's trying to do the cheat codes.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, life just,
Well, that's like a whole other pocket too. Like once again, it's like I mean, I don't
Right,
want to touch
right,
too much into it, but like that's a whole pocket. I think specifically that like it's not exclusively to the youth or the younger generation. But it is absolutely more affected in the younger generation because of just like the literal uprising of technology, lack of like actively socializing, like just being in the street on bikes and like socializing, going to parties, and all of that stuff started getting shut down and like not happening as much. And the, you know, everyone having phones and this and that happening, all of that happened. And then COVID happened at like such a pinnacle point of so many of like people in your generations like experience that I witnessed that a lot, and like it's something that I really pray about and I'm concerned about. And that's why like a lot of times when I am around people that are, you know, younger and struggle with these things, rather than doing the whole like millennial boomer Gen X thing of like, you know, minimizing it, I do my best to like meet and find opportunities where it's like, for me, like I have the opposite experience. I actually struggle more online. Like I could just like put like a mood board or whatever, but like to actually make the content and put the energy to do online, it's like so annoying to me. I'd rather just talk to a person. I want to just do it. Like I'm like just, in fact, I feel like because I don't care enough to put energy into creating any type of persona, that it's like exhausting to do that. Like, so like I have that opposite experience. So like a lot of times, like if I'm around people that have the opposite experience, I'm like, oh, come with me to this event, like come with me, like, cause you know. And then I have a lot of my friends that are like, oh, like every time I go, you're like, you know, so many people, and I'm like standing there talking. I'm like, but just talk, just engage, you know, like just say something, even if you just do little things, like something like, and I don't mean fake things. I'm not like some like talking about, oh, like self-help type, find a person and compliment them. No. Find a person and actually like something and then compliment them on it out loud. Don't like go out of your way to be like, oh, I love your shirt, when you don't care about their shirt. Like make it genuine. I'm a firm believer when it comes to any type of affirmations, self-talk, and or talk to others, like make it genuine, you know, like, because if you're going to lead a conversation off of something you desire, something that isn't genuine, whatever the case is, now you are taking that on as your persona, and now you're teaching your body that you're not authentic to like what you feel, and now you trust yourself less. So like rather than lean into from isolation to people pleaser, lean in from isolation to just being able to express yourself as who you are and finding out who you are. And maybe when it comes to these personas, like, listen, I understand, like I'm an artist in my own right as well. Like, and there's certain aspects and that I can understand, like having different personas and parts of yourself that you're going to invoke in different areas. But it's still you. Even and if it's not you, I would invite you to ask yourself why it exists. Because if it's solely for monetary gain, that's kind of like, you know, that's manipulation.
100%.
You know,
going back to what we were talking about. It's forcing.
Once again, it's not leading. And it's a lot easier to be like, the algorithm's telling me that if I do X, Y, Z, then people will like it, rather than, and then you get a bunch of gratification or a validation from this, rather than I'm just putting this up because I want to put this up. And if you get 2 likes or if you get 100, it doesn't matter, because you're just doing it because you wanted to do it. and it's an extension of you, and it doesn't matter. Like, don't let society tell you that just because somebody has 10,000 followers or this, that, there's plenty of people that I've met that have a bunch of different followers, and like like it doesn't matter. Like it makes no difference, because it's like, who are you in person?
Right.
And whether you're, you know, a person I would hang out with or not, like it's like, and then I've met people that have like 200 followers that I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why don't more people follow you? Like, you're mad lit. Like, you're such a dope person. Right. So it's like the social media shit, it's an extension.
Yeah. It's still, you know what I find so interesting? I'm sorry. Like, I guess because I do this as a job now, full time, I get to literally be that middle ground of seeing what is fake, and it's fake for a reason, because it's literally made to manipulate.
Right.
And then what is real and actually happening behind the scenes of these people's lives. And I find it interesting because I'm going to be 25 this year. Instagram only was a thing probably max 15 years ago. Because I remember being in middle school and like Instagram just coming out and everybody being on it. So for me, I find that so interesting.
It was
because
very
I'm like,
different too.
even my job, even my career path right now is still so new and like taboo that it's like 10, 15 years ago, this wasn't even a career path that you're thinking about in school.
Yeah. Now it wasn't an option.
Right. It wasn't even an option. So that's obviously a whole, like you said, a whole pocket of things. And I definitely, as someone that does this full time, I 110% feel like it was made to destroy society, 100% distract and just be a part of that bigger confusion that has always been, basically.
Pulling people from themselves.
Right.
We're more powerful when we're like that. Everything, not everything, but majority of things are pre-designed to do that.
Right. So I guess it's a good time to ask you a question, right? Speaking of everything. We have a 6 year difference? 5 years? 7 years?
6 years?
How old are you this year?
31.
How did you just turn? 31, and I'm turning 25, so 6 years. What do you feel like, this is really like, I really want to hear your full, like, honest, like, raw and cut. What would you tell not only yourself, but, you know, me or someone that is just in that 25 stage of life compared to now in these 30 stage of life? Because that 5-6 years definitely makes a difference, and it's definitely a whole different, people in general are in clearly different spaces. So
in regards to life overall,
like, what is the main thing that you feel like is the difference between being 25 years old and being 30 or just 31?
Less hasty with certain things.
What does that mean?
Like less like not trying to rush everything, you know. I feel like leading up to 30, it's like, oh, I gotta get this done before I'm 30, and I gotta get this done before I'm 30, and then you're 30 and you're just like, I'm gonna get this done. Like, you just know who you are. Like, you feel the weight of your frontal lobe. It's like
no, I can like, understand what you mean by that.
It's crazy because it's like, until you're 25, like when you're like 18, 21, whatever, like you think you're an adult, you know what I mean? And in certain aspects you could be, you know, maybe you're paying your bills, maybe doing this, whatever, cool. Your frontal lobe is not like 100%. There, you know what I'm saying, yet. So therefore, like, there's like certain things that you literally cannot process, that you will be able to process better as you age. Then you turn 25, and I feel like you're like actually an adult. Like, you turn 25. I remember when I turned 25, I was like, oh, I'm actually an adult. Like, I feel this.
Grounded a lot more.
And you feel like who you are, and you feel a little bit less influenced, still influenced, of course, but like a little bit less influenced by your surroundings as maybe you have been for the previous of your life.
Right.
When I turned 30 last year, I was just like, oh, okay. Like, it's just like, you have a lot less to prove, you know? That's why the 20s are so important, because you're like, you have to prove a lot of stuff. But I would say, like, all of that energy, if you can find a way to reallocate the energy of trying to prove to the world to and redistribute it to yourself,
right,
of not even proving, but more so just like embodying and being with yourself and really listening, I think you'll save yourself a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because and accepting things as they are, rather than trying to change anything, which is at any person's life, at any age, you know. But also, like, something that I want to speak to before the thought leaves me, you were saying with yourself, like, how, you know, you having this career shows you and puts you in the position where you're in between, like, what is real, what is fake, and like you're now the curator and the pusher of it. I want to also speak something to that, where it's like, you are in that position for a reason, where you get to really help accentuate what is real, you know, and support and uplift what is real, and taking on clients that you align with, and like supporting them and helping them put their vision of, maybe there's some people that struggle with getting what they do onto the internet. That's why they hire you. And then you're able to do that in an authentic way, because just as we talked about personas and things like that, which kind of ties back into what I'm in my response to you, as like, what would, like, me speaking to a younger version of myself, or another thing is like, the more you accept yourself and you align yourself with what makes sense to your morals, the less work you have to do, like in regards to like excessive work. You're always going to have work to do, but it feels like you're not wasting your time, because when you are working with things, or like, you know, watering dead plants or whatever that you want to call it, like it's dispersing your energy in all these different directions. If I were to speak to 25-year-old version of myself, I would say to remove some of all of the things that I was doing. I was doing too much.
Some of all of the
like, I was doing too much.
Remove some of all of the things.
Girl, consolidate, because it's too much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think, okay, so that is really interesting that you say that, because like I said, going back to, the social media thing, I feel like that is one of the biggest things that I'm noticing, especially in young women, that we, or a lot of young women in this day and age, whether they're 30, whether they're 25, whether they're 18, it's like pushing a narrative and a facade that you can have everything. And that a lot of, I don't know if it's social media or if it's just maybe a woman trait that I'm noticing, but like I am noticing, like, right, because this is myself as well. Like us, I feel like as women like to, we like to kind of have a little bit of everything, or feel like we can have everything. And the reality, the harsh reality and truths of life, I feel like you can have everything in your own way, but
well, you can't have everything.
But you kind of get what I'm saying.
It's what you're saying. It's like you can have what you need or what you desire, but like you can't be greedy.
Right. And a lot of people, or maybe
you
just people, I'll just put it this way, leave out the man and the woman. Like a lot of people in this day and age, because we're being fed so much subconsciously that we don't even realize, right? News, phones, TV, whatever. It's like everybody's trying so hard, kind of like you said, is putting their energy towards holding on to all these things instead of really just staying in one lane. Like, okay, I guess the best way I could put it in a literal sense is like when I ask people, okay, who are you trying to target? Literally, what is your target audience? And your target audience winds up just being a reflection of who you are. So I can say right now, I want my target audience to be big muscle dudes, and I want to make all this money selling to gym people because X, Y, and all. It makes all this logical sense. But the reality is, I don't live that life. I'm not in the gym every day. You know, there's literally things that I just wouldn't know, rather than someone that does something every single day, because it's like, who they are.
Realistic with it.
Right. So when I ask people, okay, you know, what's your target audience? What do you want your market to be? I want to appeal to everybody. And I just be like, like literally that face, like, so I know who I'm working with, you know, because again, it's innocent, and of course we all want to be liked by everybody and all that type of stuff. I don't know what that is. I don't know if you care about that. TikTok. Ugh. TikTok. That was our sign. That's literally how true it is. But in business, if because I'm just a business person, I feel like in general. So in business, you wind up making more money and you go farther just focusing on the 3 people that actually do resonate with you and want to, live your life basically every single day, rather than trying so hard to appeal to everybody. And I can go into that in so many different ways.
It's like locking in and focusing, and like you said, it's simplifying and staying in your lane. Like 100%, I agree. Right. It's like building and stacking, compiling, like rather than like dispersing your energy and all these different things simultaneously though. Right. Everyone has a different journey. There are people I know that have a 9-to-5 and they've compiled money, and their experience was to compile money and then eventually get to a point that they have the freedom to then actually choose what they want to do. Right. Some people work like that. Right.
That's literally what I'm doing. That's literally what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
And listen, and that is valid, and that is absolutely, like, you need to hit that point after. But everyone has a different journey. Right. So some people, whether they're working a bunch of jobs or like, looking at all these different things, and then they figure out what they want to do, and then they stick to that and compile. Yeah, everyone has a different version of when they hit what they hit.
Right, but it boils down to the same thing.
No matter what, it literally boils down to the same thing. You have to lock in and focus.
Of submitting to just what your plan is. And I feel like, again, everything we're talking about, detachment, everything, it literally just stems from deeply understanding. And a lot of times we're forced into it. Right. Because we try, we're trying every single way to avoid what just is. And it really boils down to a point of really understanding, like, only I know my mission. You're not supposed to know my mission. Kenny's not supposed to know my mission. Literally, only I know my mission, because that's all we have at the end of the day. Is literally our bodies, our gut, intuition. That's all we're stripped down to at the end of the day. Right. And the more we choose to not accept that, or try to run from it, or whatever the case is, or act in fear, or try to manipulate, it's like the more of a deeper hole we're digging for ourselves. When you realize, when you just submit in that universal sense, you genuinely at a core level understand and become at peace with, okay, my job on this earth is to just listen to people, have these experiences, but just take what resonates with me to go back to the plan that was already stored in me, basically. Right. If I don't, if you don't act in that light constantly every single day, and of course we're human beings, so we're not going to be that way every day, but then we face consequences from it, regardless. So it's like, if you're not operating in that every single day, I have so much going on right now in terms of, like, if someone from the outside looked at what I'm doing right now, or you look at my Instagram page right now, you'll be like, okay, she does social media. That's at least the one thing. But even before I was doing this full time, you'd probably be like, okay, this is just a girl. Like, she just, I don't know what she, But for me, it's like, I know that I'm doing social media. Everything, basically, I'll just boil it down. Everything, I have about 5 different areas right now that all have to be individually taken care of to then come together. And it won't make sense for people until 5-10 years down the line, and I'm okay with that. I've genuinely accepted that. And now when people give me suggestions, or they say, hey, you should do this, or even your podcast or anything spiritual that you do, hey, you should do it like this, or you should do it like that, or you should go in this direction or that. It's like everything becomes noise when you're not just
listening to yourself.
And if you are going to listen to other people, it has to be with that discernment. Like, you are just a vessel to me, and who you are Like, you can be right now, you can tell me things that resonate with me. This whole podcast, I'll be like, yeah, you know what, Ash? I really agree with Ash. But then people take that and they be like, let me follow Ash.
Right. Instead of being like, okay, I just resonate with that.
Right.
And that's where people get really funky, right? Because then people try to emulate, people start like getting, either people will try to attach themselves to your identity, or they'll become jealous of it, or they get confused hate or love or whatever the case is, or inspiration, and they're like, oh, well, if this person's doing it this way, then I should do it this way because that's getting them that type of attention, the attention that I want. Instead of being like, oh, wow, I resonate with that teaching. Cool. How can I apply that in my own way? And any of the best teachers and any of the people that speak to things, speak to that. Like, not to continuously go back to Tishnaha, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he literally says that. Like, he literally says, like, this is what I'm saying to you. But like, I'm me. So like, you make that make sense for you. I mean, like, I literally did that right now, because that's obviously not exactly what he said. But, you know, it's just about allowing things to, whatever resonates with you, and then whatever doesn't, let it fall off of you. And that is one of the most important things to do. Just as we want to sit here and learn and like, and I guess I could speak back to the question that you asked. If I were to boil it down to like one sentence that I'm going to say to like the younger version of myself, or to people that are 25 and younger, whatever the case is like, just as much as you want to learn and as much as you're learning, make sure you are doing your best to unlearn the things you need to unlearn, because you will not be able to retain and apply if you are also not deconstructing the structures that have been built on fault lines, like the ones that are not stable, the ones that are no longer suiting you, the ones that have been implemented by, bless you, people who didn't have the tools to make a proper and balanced and secure foundation.
And that's the hard part. That literally is the hard part that we can talk about for days, and that people will literally have to come to their own conclusion, probably because they're forced into it, probably because life put them in a situation where there's nowhere else to run, you know,
where you have to sit with yourself like, this isn't working anymore.
Yep. And it's hard and it's uncomfortable, and that's something I'm going through right now, right? Me, as specific example, right? The specific example like I would have is, I've never seen a relationship last, I've never seen a relationship last, and there's one relationship I can think of in my life that I've seen growing up that did last, but they were better off alone. So, and I was taught, as soon as something makes you uncomfortable, dip, you know, all that type of stuff. So me now, I have to consciously make the effort every single day to find value in my partner that I'm with. It's not a forcing thing, right? It's just an inner intuition thing that's like, if I don't do the work to unlearn this, I'm gonna just find this again in another person or another situation or another, you know, thing. So I might as well, again, submit to that and just understand that this is what life is trying to teach me. And like, for me, my girlfriend comes from the opposite household. I had to be very independent at a very young age. She comes from the opposite side of the world, where it's like, stay here, you know, and you have all the safety, but that obviously creates problems too 100% for people. So I had to find value in the fact that, like, off rip, to me, it was very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to be with someone that grew up in a situation that you didn't, maybe because of a little bit of jealousy, maybe because of a little bit of like, you know, it's just unknown to you.
Well, you can't resonate with it because you haven't experienced. It's hard to resonate.
Exactly. Because, but again, that's when you have to use your discernment and really be like, okay, is this bad feeling because this really isn't meant for me? Or is this bad feeling because I haven't experienced it and it's just a hazy road ahead? But, you know, it's a kind of a good uncomfortable. So like, for me, I've learned to, or I've wanted to embrace being with someone that actually has those opposite experiences from me. And it's been a journey to try to navigate and try to, like you said, unlearn certain things and anxieties within myself. So like, I'll be like, we gotta get up right now, I gotta get this done. You know, there ain't no time to wait, we surviving out here every single day. And I'm very hardcore with it. She's more like, just be present, it's gonna get done. like you said. Like, all that energy you invest in yourself, you don't have to control other people and other things and all that type of stuff. So I just say all that to say, like, I think that's important for people to know. Because we get bad feelings, but you have to discern whether that bad feeling is because it's actually bad for you or because it's just uncomfortable because you haven't
growing pains.
Experienced it.
Right. No, that's like such a valid point. And I think that that's the difference between like when you hit a point of like, what is trauma bonding, right? A person who has similar trauma to you.
Right.
So you can like feel comfortable in that, you know, and then what is like pushing through and like, I don't know what to call it, but I guess for lack of words, like uncomfortable, resonance. Like you still, you're resonating with that person as an essence.
Right.
But their experience,
right,
their story,
right,
is like uncomfortable because it's that part doesn't. It's like a dissonance there. So
right.
it's like trying to find harmony. You know, if you're talking like musically, like just trying to find harmony, trying to make it make sense.
Right.
You know, but it's you know, you're creating the beat, you're making the song, you're working out the kinks, you're finding the lyrics, you know, you're seeing where everything lands, and then you're also what makes a song, what makes a good song a song, you know, when someone like pulls out music and it's just empty. Nothing. Like that's like one of my favorite parts of music is like the pauses when it's like you think it's about to end and it's like then it drops, boom.
Yeah,
exactly that. And like that is where I feel like the best things in our life we can give ourselves the best opportunity to exist, move through, thrive, and be with the space of nothingness. You know, we're so overly consumed by everything all the time.
Right.
Whether it's thought, phone, life, worry, stress. To actually allocate that time and space to do nothing.
Right. It's hard.
Is a beautiful gift that you can give yourself every day, even if it's like 2 minutes. Like even if it's like, you know, throw out the word meditation if it makes you have a whole predetermined thing. Put an alarm on your phone to sit there and do nothing for 2 minutes.
I have to get better at that.
You know,
I'm so like that's something I struggle with.
Me too.
Forever.
Me too. Like I like despite what a preconceived notion of me having a spiritual like essence, like I struggle with that too. That's why I'm speaking directly to it.
Right. Because I think that's what I love about you though. It's really I love that about you, that you make it a point to still be real and still be yourself and not kind of what you said, like show people like these preconceived
the persona,
like what you think a spiritual person should look like, and understanding like even through you that they you know, everybody can embody. Like I think you said something to me when I first met you and I was like, I was basically like kind of ignorant like everybody else in terms of when you say you're a spirit guide or you say anything like that, it's like, oh, so you have special powers? When did you discover your powers? You know, like, and are your powers real? You know, and it's like really just be like, you know, letting it be known that we all have these superpowers, like as human beings. Where like the movies that we see of like superpowers,
who's developing what is who's putting the time to develop what, some people came to this earth,
we all have
with
it
with more in one area, just like someone has a natural talent to do one thing, another like that's
just like someone was born on this planet rich and famous just for no reason,
and then somebody worked to get it. You can still, it's all obtainable, depending on what you're willing to sacrifice and focus on.
And so I was, again, going back to metaphors, I was talking about that, and I was saying life is this whole big, like, ladder race, kind of. And it's like some people start up here, and if you want to say up here, that's like, okay, you were just born into a family with money and business and resources and all this type of stuff. And then you have someone that just so happened to be born down here. Let's say you were born in, you know, Africa or something, and you are literally struggling to get resources or whatever. It's like, based off of our continuous choices, what we choose and how deep we want to get with ourselves, stuff like, you know, you can literally the people that wind up starting out here by the end of their lifetime wind up being here spiritually because they literally, you know, made choices to feed into their addictions or to, you know, not get deep with these things because maybe they didn't have to face it or whatever the case is.
They didn't have to face faith because they were handed like other things that usually people lean into faith for when they don't have.
Right. So it winds up being a whole, like, I just feel like life is all of us little tiny players. And we're all trying to find our homeostasis.
Right, we're trying to find our balance.
Yeah.
That's why this podcast is named what it is, you know. And I 100% agree to that, and think that that's such an important and valuable point to make, because it's like, I feel like that's like, especially for people who work on the emotional and spiritual plane and have prioritized that in their life, whether by choice, force, whatever the case is, like really submitted to that, like, as opposed to the physical. You get recognition for the physical. You make money.
Right.
Good for you. Oh, this is my daughter. This is my son. He works this job. It's a good job, blah, blah. When you're pivoting and you do things on more like metaphysical, emotional, like, until you have results, which usually is coming from like years after the case, you have years of not being acknowledged for any of the work that you're doing. You'll be sitting there working so hard on like not perpetuating literal like generational trauma, which we can get into epigenetics, which we could get into literally clearing the health for the lineage 7 generations before you and after you, and the same people that you're helping to heal that can be essentially shitting on you in the process.
Oh yeah,
you know, and it's it like obviously unintentionally, but because of what we are viewed to value. We view to value tangible things. And then it comes a point where things kind of go, they spin, where it's like the same people that like think that they have it all figured out, or thought that you were like abstract or like whatever it is for the choices that you made, now come to you for help. You know, and it's like, that's the thing that every holy book speaks to, like in the Bible, it's like Jesus like talking about loving thy enemy, or taking care of thy enemy, and like, you know, every spiritual book or text has a version of this where it comes back around, because like Jesus was just out here, like, you know, in the beginning, to the people who didn't have eyes to see him, they didn't know what he was doing, you know what I mean, until he was out here performing miracles, and everyone was like, yo, like, this is crazy, you know what I mean? Like, it's an interesting experience when you truly do what it is that feels the most resonant to you, but then also like balancing that out with like
natural human order.
Right. Exactly. Perfectly said. Yeah. Perfectly said. So yeah.
And that's what I find interesting about me and you. Like, again, maybe we can, I don't know how much you want to go or whatever, but
I think we're gonna need a part 2, because I already know we're like running time.
I was gonna say,
but like we have a lot.
Right. But I find that so interesting about you and I, because you can even use us as a prime example in terms of like where you kind of naturally stem from as a human, and where I naturally stem from. And it's like me, I started in that other half of the world where it's like, I want to make money. I want to be successful. I'm looking at all these physical things. I'm like, I want to essentially be a public figure. I want to be famous. I want to have riches. I want to have success. Right? And then it really gets to a certain point where if you want those things, ironically, you literally have to go back to the human psychology of everything. And I had to, how do I put it? I guess that's why people ask me or think, you know, how did you get so, you know, how do you have all this like deep knowledge? Same thing as you, right? How do you come to these conclusions? How do you know all this stuff? How can you speak to this? And they're so in awe by it. But it's really like when you really want to get something done and you really have that bigger goal and vision and dream, it's like it all boils down to the same thing. Right. If you really want to be successful and you want to have a business, and it comes with consistency. It comes with all these like deeper things that a lot of people will just be like, that don't make money. That's not immediate satisfaction. That's not, you know, that don't fucking matter. Whatever.
Well, like what's important that you noted is that your process in you obtaining the things that you wanted didn't involve a shortcut.
Right.
Because the shortcut is literally selling your soul in each of these little things. People think that selling your soul is like this contract you make with the devil. But it's every single time you go against your own
it's
morality.
The active choices you're making.
Right. Like you don't resonate with something, but you're like, you know what? Like, it's okay. I want to make money.
Right. You're ignoring your intuition. You're ignoring your feelings. You're trying to manipulate all those things. I guess I really started learning this, 1, when I was diagnosed with mental illness, 2, when I went to college. And obviously, I think a big part of everything we're talking about is just an education factor, whether someone's not educating themselves or they're not in spaces where they're being educated.
Right.
But it wasn't until I went to college and was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be in business. I'm going to be this great marketer and all this type of stuff. And all my business classes all went back to human psychology. So that's when, you literally start to realize no matter how you put it, no matter how you try to cheat it, no matter how you try to instant gratification it all, literally everything boils down to the same thing. It's just a choice of whether you want to acknowledge it and truly acknowledge it or not. And acknowledging comes with facing uncomfortable truths and really everything that comes with acceptance.
And what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to use it to manipulate people like the rest of the people do that have the format before you?
Are you going to keep taking the easy way out? Or are you going
to do it the harder way that has more integrity?
Right.
Because that's essentially the only reason why majority of the people that I know, love, and including myself, have not completely boomed financially is because we have integrity.
Right.
Because we have all the knowledge and skill to
but you're gonna go
do
farther.
Right.
Because you can now you can boom. And again, the interesting part about what I do every day, I work with people that have millions of dollars sitting in their bank account. And they know how to make the fast money. Right. And they know how to make those instant sales, and they know how to, but they never know how to maintain. Everything winds up. It's like you're swimming against the tide.
Right.
It's
everything's all over the place.
Everything's all over the place. Eventually, these things wind up crumbling, falling. People see your true personality or who's running the business. Now, next thing you know, especially in this day and age, with the way that everything economically has evolved, people are so much more interested in human experience, really connecting because of all the things that are around us that stop us from doing what humans want to do naturally.
Right.
They start to get to know you. You're not the best type of person. In terms of you actively make choices that are ignorant, selfish, really bad. You make bad, and I'm not talking about the taboo stuff. I'm talking about clear cut and dry. You're actively that how do I put this? You're judging people and you don't want to be judged.
Right.
You're treating others how you would hate to be treated.
Right. Or consciously.
Right. Consciously.
And you're still doing
consciously.
it. Right.
And you're doing it because again, hurt people. You're doing it because maybe somewhere in your story, people treated you like that. So now you think that it's acceptable to, okay, yeah, I had to go through this. So so-and-so has to go through this. And that's just how shit works. And it's the more you keep trying to go against the tide, the natural tide of life, and you keep trying to have that control, and you keep trying to be God, and you keep trying to, it literally, next thing you know, all your business is gone. Next thing you know, you have no workers. Next thing you know, literally nobody cares.
It comes with the biggest price. It comes with the biggest price. And that's why majority of these people, of these, say, the most financially successful people and all these different things, they're paying for people's company. Let's just call it that, right? They're paying for people's, to have conversation,
right?
Even if it's disguised as something else.
Right.
They're paying for this stuff because they literally have not had they have not allocated time to actually develop relationships. People have a hard time sleeping. Insomnia. They can't go to sleep because they think about all of the decisions that they did. They have addictions because they're trying to numb themselves to all of the hurt that they've put onto other people.
Right.
And then no matter what, you have to pay for what it is that you've taken in this life,
and know that you're not a victim. It's literally, we're not victims.
Right.
Everything is happening for you, not to you. I'm so big on that. Right. And when people be like, this person did this to me, you already see where their head is at.
Right.
It's okay, you're gonna keep going through that over and over again. Or it's like someone selling their body in any type of way, shape, or form. Selling this, version of themselves or whatever, because it's instant gratification. Okay, there's a market out there for people that are just lonely, that just want that instant satisfaction as well. Right. Cool, they pay you, you're making money off of that, and now you're wondering why you can't find genuine human connection or a strong partner.
Well, that's because you've sacrificed one for the other.
Right. So like you said, it's
everything comes with
a price.
Nothing is free. Nothing is free. A word. All right. Well,
that was a good, yeah.
That was like, we did, there's a lot. Yeah. So I do want to take a moment before we wrap it up entirely. Mm-hmm. I have this book that it's called The Book to me, but really it's called Mind Platter.
Do you have cards with you?
Huh?
Do you have cards with you?
I do. I will.
I was going to say, can we pull one just because?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was planning on it.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
No, you're all right. So I'll do that first then. I'm like,
this is what I'm working on, sitting still.
Nah, you're good because you said it for a reason. So I'm gonna trust that. I'll end it off with that. So we're gonna just pull. I'm going to take a moment to pull 2 oracle decks. If that is not your thing, thank you for listening. I appreciate your presence. If it is your thing, stay tuned. Creator, I pray here and now to pull cards for anybody that's listening, regardless of time and space, for any guidance, any, advice for what could be beneficial for anyone to hear at this time. Not anyone, but the people that are listening actively and are open to it here and now at this time. What could be beneficial to lean into leading by example, not forcing.
This is my first time seeing this deck.
It's a very special feature.
She's cute.
She's so pretty. Shout out to my sister. Okay. Understanding that force comes from anger and fear, and that when we lead, we can create and generate. Oh, there's all the stuff from
that was literally tea. Perfect.
I'm like, it's all wet because of my cup of tea. And when we lead, we can step into sweetness and happiness, genuinely. And to listen to yourself. Most of all, listen to yourself.
That's how true it is, y'all.
Listen to your heart.
Literally. You could have picked anything out of that whole deck. Mm-hmm. And it literally came out every single thing we were talking about.
That's how that works. Right. Always. Even when you don't think it does, and then it does. And then you're like, this is why I do that.
That is perfect, though. Literally. Fear and anger is literally what is behind.
It's literally force.
The force.
Right.
And once you just let go. I was going to ask, can we do one for us personally?
Yeah, we could do that after. Yeah, we're not going to do that on here.
I was going to say, I was going to say, like, one. What's something that we should continue to lead with? Through the podcast or through people.
You want to do it on here? Okay.
No, I mean,
if that's what you feel, I mean.
That is genuinely what I feel in my heart.
Okay. All right. Okay, so what is the exact question?
What are me and you supposed to take, or how are we supposed to continue leading?
In our lives?
In our lives, especially with people watching or people that do subconsciously come to us for guidance, whether they say it directly or not. To me, I like it with the energy because we're here. Right. not you laughing.
Maybe we were just what mine is. Bro, like
we're just gonna
I mean, I feel like I get it, but
that's why she didn't want to show you guys her card.
That's crazy.
That's why you didn't want to feel exposed.
Well, I get what it is. What it is. Okay, so yours, do you want to share what yours is, or do you want to just keep this?
That was for ourselves.
Okay.
For ourselves. It doesn't have to be.
It's like
it's just it's a us understanding thing.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Y'all will just have to see.
Yeah.
All right, so to conclude this,
I want to talk after about why you got that card though.
Oh yeah, no, I completely understand why. Yeah, it makes complete sense.
That we could talk about after.
But it's literally we'll talk about it. Yeah. Okay, so 2 things. I want to give a big shout out to Society, which is an incredible tea company that I had met out in Brooklyn at this awesome event that I went to. So shout out to them. This is Shalimar's Passion. This is the tea that we're drinking today.
It is so
when
good.
I seen that their brand was called Society, I was like, I have a podcast called Dualitea. I was like, we need a collab. So like, shout out to them. This tea is amazing. You know, and I will continue. I'm a firm believer of like, you guys know that I make my own teas and I usually like make them for whoever comes on. But I'm such a firm believer of just like accepting other people's medicine and also encouraging other people. And like, you know, sometimes you just don't need to be the one to do everything.
Right. Sometimes literally let the people be the vessel that they're supposed to be.
Right. And I'm like, this is Society. I'm like, I love it. Society 7, check them out. And I don't see their website. Oh, okay. Society7.com and Society7 on Instagram. So check them out. This is one of my favorite blends, personally.
She heated it up, and we got ice cups.
Shalimar's Passion.
The cold tea is really hitting right now.
It's so good.
It's really good.
So good. Okay, and to bring this podcast to a conclusion, do you want to turn to a page, or do you want me to? You want it?
Yeah.
You want to read it?
I'm feeling powerful.
Go for it. I'm like, hold on, go ahead.
So because before I even do this, thank you to you. Like, seriously, I'm not even just saying that, like, straight up, because through us, or even having you as a vessel for me in my life, through our readings and even talking and just having conversation, you are definitely a part of the people on my journey that just help make everything make sense. And is that good home warm feeling that's like, you know, and again, going back to what we were talking about, just listen to your feelings, like your gut. And as a fire sign, that is so hard for me. But genuinely, when you learn to embrace your gut feelings and being around, you know, people or spaces that make you actually feel, this feels home, this feels right. Listen to that. It doesn't matter what the bigger plan is or what's going to happen in the future, or just literally stay in that present moment. Get what you need to get out of that. And then, yeah. So I'm saying, like, even you, like, or you telling me in the message, like, that you've watched me grow as well. That means, like, so much to me, because really self-reflecting on when I first met you compared to me now, I'm like, it's just so crazy, you know? So I definitely think a thank you is deserved. And you do a lot of work, not only for yourself, but obviously that helps a lot of people make sense of their worlds through you. And that is like a sacrifice that is important to be recognized, because that, if it's not controlled, you already know it could be draining. It can take your everything, and literally your life mission is to help other people. And to me, that's literally what we're here for. So
I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you for being you, and thank you for coming on to here. So what I do is I set the intention in my head. I said, what is it that we all need to hear right now? And then I open up to a page and then just go from there.
Do I have to say that out loud?
No.
Or can I just know? Okay.
Yeah, just one intention.
This book says Mind Platter. Can anybody get this book?
Yeah. I got it from a bookstore in Oregon.
If it calls to you.
It's a great book.
This is what it looks like. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I don't need to say it. I just feel it, guys. Okay. You're going to have to just trust me.
We do.
I'm not going to look. And do like a couple questions unanswered. The questions that you have may be too long, too complicated, or just confusing. A mighty ship lost in the ocean may be stuck in troubled waters, calm on some days and raging on others. So we are in times of hardships and in times of uncertainty. We feel trapped when no trap can contain the amount of agony that we have. We feel our hearts caged when no cage can contain the amount of heartache that we have. Happiness and sadness swing us between the shores of anger and forgiveness. Our hearts may ache for an answer, but the truth is, the lack of an answer is sometimes better than the presence of a lie. That is everything we talked about in this podcast, guys.
Well,
yeah. Just be still.
And
submit.
Accept what is. Accept what is. Oh my God. I can see it seems so easy, but it can be so hard.
Right. That was perfect.
Thank you for everything that you shared on this podcast too, because I needed to hear a lot of what you said. So thank you. And yeah, we're back. I'll be here next month. Last Tuesday, not Wednesday. Tuesday at 11. Last Tuesday every month. And thank you guys for tuning in. Also, last shout out, second to last shout out, I want to say, if y'all, I don't know if it could get zoomed in, but my nails, I want to say shout out to Kristen at K-Slay. I know the sun is beaming on them. My nails are homegrown, so these are my natural nails, but the design and all of that, I just want to shout out to my friend. And big shout out to Kenny.
Right.
And the new space of Hub. And this is our first podcast here, and I'm just like super excited. I really love it. You guys need to tap in with Hub, check out all of the new things that will be happening here, and come check out the new location. If you have any podcasts, like, photography, different art, all kind of mediums, check us out. And big shout out to Kenny.
Right. Shout out to Kenny. Photo shoots, podcasts, event space, literally anything. I was telling and thinking Kenny too. I said, this hub is literally the hub of the artistic community of Staten Island. So we were just talking about networking, and a lot of people have a hard time knowing how to get into spaces that are with like-minded individuals or people that are also doing creative endeavors. And Hub 17 is the first place you can start. Right. If you want to get out today and make a friend or know somebody that is doing something of some kind of anything,
right,
there's a family at Hub for you. You will make a new friend. I'll be your friend. Ash will probably be your friend. I mean, you got to come right with your energy. But we are more than likely willing to be your friend. So yeah, that was last. Sorry.
Well, thank you guys. No, you're good. You're good. Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on to the pod. We'll see you next time. Bye.
That was a cute sign off.